Every professional has a unique magic waiting to be discovered. At Finding the Unicorn in You helps you unlock your hidden potential. Thank you for tuning in. Now switching it over to our host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have a very special guest who is a dynamic thought leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, leadership, and workplace culture. As the director of marketing and culture for ZRGI Embedded Recruiting and the founder of Do Better Consulting, she's dedicated to challenging organizations to think differently, lead better, and create spaces where everyone can thrive. Guided by her mantra, do better people, she focuses on hiring strategies, DEIB, and inclusive leadership coaching. I have so much excitement for her to be on here. Without further ado, welcome Desiree Goldie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love to talk about this stuff and excited to just jump in.
Yeah. Was this something that you're like, as a young child, you're like, I'm going to do this and this is like what I want to do for the rest of my life? Or what kind of gear did you towards this passion, this career?
No, but I will say that my upbringing crafted what I am now, right? I was a little Black girl in a very white suburban neighborhood. My parents were affluent. And so it was different, right? I didn't have the kind of background that I thought guided me towards strength and understanding really as a Black person all the time where I should have my head at. And so I grew up very privileged almost. I went to a very good college and so it's been different for me, but I experienced racism in every sense of the word through that upbringing, right? I was one of two in my graduating class. It was just a very different experience. So I got to college and actually couldn't figure out really what I wanted to do. And so I took a job, hated the job, quit the job. And then my friend got me into hospitality for a very long time. And I'm going to tell you, people look down sometimes on the service industry and hospitality, but it taught me everything I know about how to provide great customer service, how to be a leader of many people with a lot of different issues, with a lot of things going on. And it was transformative in my career. And then I went back to sales and marketing, was my sweet spot. I, drove sales and marketing for a consumer brand, and it got to the place where then I didn't want to do that anymore. And then I got into recruiting and talent, which for me, people and connection and empathy and all of the things combined made sense to me so much at the time in my career. I was 40, actually 39. So yeah, so a very huge switch. And it was a great time period for me to say, go back and look at all the work that I had done along the way, and then tie that back into work I had done in nonprofits, in DI, and just make that connection. So really great career, super happy of how I built this, but DEI and people are always underlying to everything I do. Yeah. So,
That.
yeah.
And it's something that you can't just get rid of it because like, if you look at the statistics, like I think they say for sure men have more privileges over women to begin with, but then when you start putting into ethnicity in there, just starts getting dimmer and dimmer. Like the chance for a person to have the same opportunity and like careers and just like different chances as like their white cisgendered like male counterparts. It's just the disparity is so big.
It's so big. Even when we start from education, right?
Mhm.
Even the education in poor neighborhoods, and you can say that equates to many ethnicities, but it's very prevalent in people of colors, in neighborhoods. This education, you start from nothing. And generationally, you probably don't have what other people have generationally to say, this is a great starting point for me. I was talking about nepotism the other day. Nepotism gets you in a lot of doors. The first job I had out of college was very exciting because my dad actually knew the guy who knew the guy. And so that creates this like constant stream of opportunity where most don't have it. But if you look at women, Black women, they're the most educated right now in this time period. They have more degrees and are holding more things than anybody and still are not do not have access to the same opportunities. And so we just have an imbalance in the world of opportunity versus what's actually happening, skill, capability, qualification versus the opportunity you're actually given to do the work. And it's a really hard place to be as a person of color or underrepresented, disabled, you can name all of these other things. It's not just people of color. It's all of these kind of historically underrepresented groups that just cannot find their way to opportunity because the system isn't built for them.
And it's interesting that you say that because as currently I run my own business as a career coach. So I have all types of people from all walks of life come through here and they have big aspirations in life. They want to do things, but a lot of the times the system kind of conditions them that they only deserve so much.
Yeah.
Like I have people of color. Recently I had a client who she's great. She's overqualified for every single position she's ever been in. And when I asked her what she wanted to do, she was only asking for like maybe $1 or 2 raise when she had these years and years of experience and leadership and all of these stuff. And I'm like, why don't you go for that director position? She's, oh, I could never. That is like way above my scope. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're way more qualified than what this position says. I was like, let's go for it. And like, it took me so much just to be able to convince her that she was good enough to do that. And I'm just like, it's society, it's
Systemic though,
religion.
right? It
Yeah.
comes from so much of being told you're not enough. I think we're getting into a place where people are starting to speak out and do some bigger, bolder things. Even when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm like, let's you go, right? You started seeing more voice, but that doesn't replace 60 years or history. Never mind going back to slavery. I'm just even going back to the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Of being told you aren't fit for this position, can't use the same bathroom, like, and your parents taught you these things over time, and you're still fighting that. And I hate the word imposter syndrome, so I don't really use it. But I do say there is this feeling of a history that came before you that you feel like you are not, I don't want to use the word worthy, but you are not qualified to sit in a seat when you're usually way overqualified.
Yeah.
Sit in that seat. And that's because the world that we live in has told you that over and over again. It's crazy.
And I'm pretty sure this is not new for all the listeners, but for someone who's been like listening to this over and over again, how can we check ourselves? How can we like see, like shooting, am I not going as far as I could because I'm limiting myself? Like, how can we determine if that's something we're doing?
I'm sure you're doing this with your clients, but for me, it is a self-awareness piece, right? I think that sometimes we're so caught up in what's happening in the world that we don't do a self-check. How about you sit with yourself for a minute,
Yeah.
hurdle some things out, maybe make a vision board, do all of the, for me, it's writing. Like I get furious in my goals and like furious about how I think about myself. And I like write these long, ridiculous thing that nobody else wants to read but me. But it helps me craft where I see myself in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and why I think I can't get there. Like what's holding me back. If it's education, I try to figure that out. If it's, I think the people above me maybe don't see it for me. Like what's happening in my world that I don't feel like this is achievable? Because most of the time it's crap.
Gosh, it really is.
And then when you write it down, you actually see it. You're like, oh, that's a bunch of yes. Like that's not even true. Like it's obviously how I feel about myself or I feel about the world around me and how do I navigate the world outside of those things, right? And it becomes, I do it on a monthly basis because I'm crazy. I don't think you need to do it that much, but I do think there is a 3-month quarterly thing with yourself that says, hey, where am I at? Where am I trying to go? And why do I think I can't get there? And 90, I promise 90% of that time, the time that you write everything down or see your vision board, you realize you're probably way closer than you thought you were.
Oh yeah.
A
1,000.
million times. This is why I believe in coaches too, because I think sometimes that we sit in the seat and we're like so worried and involved in ourselves and our career. We get like a little crazy and we become less self-aware about how great we are. Coach is able to say to you, let's pull out the things that holding you back.
Exactly.
What's stopping you? And so I do believe in great coaches. There's a lot of angst out there about coaches right now, but a great coach is a great coach. I have one.
In here.
It's a lovely thing.
No, same here. And if it wasn't for my coach, I don't think I would have been able to be where I'm at now. Like
Yeah.
I get in my own way. And I remember the first thing I told her was, I don't think I belong in this space. As a gay male of color, like I don't see many of me being business owners. So maybe I'll do better working for someone and helping their mission. And she was like, why is their mission more important than yours?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, intent.
Sometimes the things they say to you, well, you're like, wait a minute. You have to take a step back and be like, oh, and you should, and me and her.
Yes. There's a bad boots.
Call it out.
Yeah.
Somebody to call it.
And it doesn't matter how well you're versed in the topic. Like
No.
we're not immune to those biases that happen in our head, those negative thoughts.
Because everybody has bias and everybody has these negative things. The being human is really difficult.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of things that go on a daily basis. Maybe somebody said something to you, maybe you didn't like how you performed. Maybe all of those things start to build into this conflicting narrative. And until you can ultimately stop that narrative from happening, you don't move forward. And so this becomes, for me, there's not enough of this happening. There are so many communities now and so many good things happening, but there's not enough of this supporting of others who feel the same way to get us to a really good place. And it's a hard road.
Yeah.
It's a hard road to fight the status quo of what's happening right now.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that the only way we're going to go up is if we thrive together. It really does take
Absolutely.
a community. I think earlier on, we were taught that we have to be able to do everything alone. We have to get that apartment by ourselves. We have to get that house by ourselves. We have to get that promotion by ourselves. But if you look at all the successful people, they've had a small niche of community helping them along the way. Because like you said, it's either family or close colleagues, whatnot. So we need to create that community that's going to believe in us and keep moving us forward as well.
Yeah, that's why I totally believe in mentorship, because we may have it in our own family or in our own space.
Mhm.
Mentorship is a huge value to move somebody forward. And I always say, if you're in the seat and available to be a mentor to someone, please do it.
Mhm.
Please be out there for someone, even if it's just one person, because it makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I have one. He's fantastic. And I don't honestly know where I would be right now without him. So it's great.
Yep. No, I completely agree. So we've been talking on the individual level. So let's a little bit more macro. So let's say
Sure.
an organization wants to implement more DEI.
Yeah.
How can you get it where it actually becomes part of their system, part of their culture, and not just we're going to celebrate the holidays every now and then?
Yeah. We went to this performative DEI in the past, right? Where it's, hey, put people butts in the seats, celebrate some holidays. And obviously that didn't really work. And if you
Mhm.
look at the metrics of it, yes, it's part of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle though.
Yeah.
You have to go and and I don't believe in a bunch of workplace trainings that you have once a year where you teach everybody. Like, it just doesn't work. And so there has to be a more culture thing that happens. Investing in your culture and your well-being of your people and figuring out what makes sense for your particular culture.
Yeah.
I was talking about manufacturing and life sciences the other day, right? So manufacturing, you're on the factory floor. How you build inclusivity there is different than how you build inclusivity in a science lab. There's a very different idea of what that could look like. And how you do that has to be broken down for your specific organization. And you need to have a plan. I love how when people say, we're doing recruiting or we have a 40% quota of women. And I'm like, great. Do those women feel like they belong?
Yeah.
Are they happy? Like, that doesn't mean anything. Yes, it's great. I love that you did this very performative thing where you got to a really good place. But now what? Now those women are sitting in the seats. They still have the same top leadership. They're probably men.
Yeah.
And they still are fighting their way to get to where they need to be. And so what have you made for them along the way that gets them to a happy place? None of that is happening. So this is why DEI at its core and how it lives now, I'm not saying it's a complete failure because I don't believe that. I believe that's a wrong thing to say. I've heard it many times, but I do think it needs a revamp about how you look at it holistically, about all the pieces of the puzzle that make up an organization, people, systems, training, all of those things to get you to what success looks like. Because I do believe in diversity. I do believe you should have people of color represented in your organization and definitely a top leadership and all those things. But if people don't feel like they belong or included, how long do they last? How long do they stay? And then what was the purpose of all that? And so it's a very tricky thing to do, and to do it right really does take skill and thought. And I don't think we put enough thought into it before.
Yeah. And it's a lot more complicated than one thinks. Like
Yeah.
a lot of that times they're like, oh, we'll just do this one thing that's going to be cookie cutter for everybody.
Yeah.
But there's so many different things that comes with like diversity inclusion.
Yes.
There's generational differences. There's cultural differences. There's gender differences. There's so many other things that come into play that people just don't. It really just takes you asking questions.
That's the right question.
Yeah.
I don't think we're asking sometimes the right question, or we're not asking any questions at all,
Exactly.
which is also super shocking sometimes. And like we go into organizations at my company, we ask them what is happening right now. We do a full audit of their organization. When's the last time you surveyed your people? I don't know, 10 years ago. That's it. Right? Like, how could you possibly know how people feel without taking a pulse check
Exactly.
once in a while? And we're not doing it enough. We're saying, okay, we recognize that this needs to be better, so we're just gonna make all these things happen at the top. But they don't funnel down into asking people what they actually want and need to feel part of an organization.
Exactly.
It's a really hard struggle for people.
And this whole top bottom model doesn't
Yes.
really work. You have to be able to do it section by section.
Yeah.
If you work on the top, okay, cool. Now let's work on the middle. If you work on the middle, let's work on the bottom. And you have to really, from my research, it shows that every single person wants to feel that they bring value, they're heard, they're respected, and what they're doing has a purpose.
Yeah.
If you take that away from them and then you just tell them, do as you say, not as I do,
Right.
it takes everything away. It takes the passion, takes the motivation to want to be there.
And I always talk about the middle ground because I have this theory that top leadership has been there for a while, right? And how much you really sell them on the dream. You may get there because you're a very top level middle manager who is get the initiatives over the finish line. But my concern is always the middle managers because they were usually ICs, individual contributors, who were brought into the role because they performed really well.
Yeah.
They were really good at their job, but they never got training on how to actually lead people.
Yeah.
And so we stick people in these seats and we're like, go do it. Yes, they're probably may hit their numbers or may not, but they don't have any idea of how to lead a team of diverse people. Never mind team.
Yeah.
Just team and then throw diversity on it. And then you got a whole problem. And I do believe in training in some degree in this middle area. Like you shouldn't be putting somebody in the seat who doesn't feel equipped to do the work. That's mostly who I work with that do better is that middle manager they threw me into this. And now I have a neurodivergent, 3 people of color, disabled person on my team, and no idea what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And so that's when you really are able to make them see the light about how you develop individual styles, individual relationships, bringing your authentic self to your leadership, because most don't do that. and having all that empathy is so important.
I agree. And a lot of the times, like you said, people do get promoted just because they are consistent, they're doing really well, they're meeting all of their KPIs. But when they get there, they're like, okay, like how do I do this? Oh, I don't have time to train you. Figure it
Yeah.
out as you go. And it's okay. And that's how we create toxic work environments, how we create because they don't know what they're doing. So they're reinventing the wheel. And sometimes they see how other leaders that are also like confused and reinventing the wheel are doing things are like, I'm gonna copy them. But it's a
And the pressure in when you come from an IC to a middle manager, the pressure to succeed is huge. It's massive. So all you care about at that point right now is I need to hit all my KPIs like I did when I was in IC. I need this whole team to function so that you stop caring a lot about the people who actually sit there. Because your goal is to meet your goals.
exactly.
And it becomes this like twisted circle. And if we can step away and say, I'm gonna stop thinking about me and the profits for a second and think about how I make this team work in a space that feels like a well-oiled machine that has innovation and productivity, that feels like they belong, that enjoy working with each other. I think we get to a better place.
Agreed. 1,000%. And if you can give like these middle managers, like these mid-level professionals, one piece of advice to help them
Yeah.
do better in their career, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say that it's funny. I would say I'm gonna do it 2 times. I'm gonna ignore what you just yeah. I'm gonna do 2 because I can't leave one without the other. So I'm going to say that take a really good look and be self-aware of who you are as a person, what your struggles are, what you feel is your failing, and work on those. Be self-aware and authentic to your team, right? If you know that you're not good at something, say to them, I know I'm not good at this, right? No, I'm not good at email, or I know I'm not good at this, but let's help me get there. Let's work at a system that works, right? So you could take apart and be self-aware for your team and acknowledge it to your team. It's a really big thing.
Oh yeah.
And then on that note, since you were self-aware and authentic, you also need to be empathetic to their needs. What is happening in their world? And I'm not saying you got to get deeply personal and know everybody's business, but you do need to know what's happening in their lives, what's affecting them as a work, go coming to work every day. Are they picking up kids? Are they doing these things that are they a caregiver? All of the things that make up a human, because remember, you're managing humans.
Yeah.
You are managing a human who has a lot of things going on in their life besides that. So empathy is my next. Empathy and authenticity are a strategy. They aren't just words.
Yep. And I want to take it even one step deeper for this one. So in order for you to be vulnerable with what your weaknesses are, you need to take a step back and really, who are you? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? Because sometimes we are in this autopilot and we don't take time to stop and reflect.
Yeah.
Who am I? I just switched into a whole different career, a whole different position. I may not, you're no longer the same person that you were when you were over there. You have a whole different set of responsibilities or different duties, and a little bit of you is going to change. As
Yeah.
much as you want everything to stay the same, with the more knowledge, the more responsibilities, you start developing into a whole different, like a little bit different version of yourself, but you're still authentically you, but you need to understand what is the new me now. And then from there, communicate that with the people around you so that they can help you and we can all grow together.
Yeah, and especially when we take new positions, right? There's a new set of goals for you.
Mm,
You may have new failings, right? You're like,
mm.
oh, I was really great at this, but I'm not. I always tell people I'm horrible at budgets. No, please. And I have a plan now, but it's the worst. My wife and my home does all our finance. I just don't want to look at them. Right. So I always acknowledge to my team, like straight off the bat, like when it comes to this, it takes me so long to get it back to you because I really don't want to sit there and do it. Like I'm really clear with them. This is a huge failing. And as I've moved up in my career, it's a huge portion. Some most of the time on my job. And so I have to know that like when it's budget season, please don't bother. Like, I can't function on you, but I let my team know that, right? Because I'm self-aware enough to know that it drives me nuts and I'm stressed, right? And I will ultimately put that on you if we're in these kind of conversations. I have to say to you, I can't right now because I have a week of intense budget.
Exactly.
And I'm no good at it. But acknowledging that to my team has always been a seller for me. It's always been the dream because they know during that week, they're like, Desiree, we'll see you on the other side.
Right. Exactly.
Get through it. But it takes me a lot.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it helps because it avoids them from creating their own narrative and their assumptions. Oh, Desiree's acting weird today. I don't know what I did that I upset her, where it has nothing to do with you. It's just, I hate this budget that's right in front of my face.
Yeah. That's the tea. And I finally got good at that. I'm going to tell you, I always say leadership is a journey with steps along the way, right?
Mhm.
You can learn from yourself along the way what has worked and what doesn't work. And eventually if you're really narrowed and focused in on it, you will get to a place that feels comfortable
Yeah.
and most of your team will actually pick that up from you. I've done this long enough that I feel like my team's like, hey, Desiree, we're not family, but we definitely are close enough that we feel like we are on the same page. We are moving towards the same direction. And you always know where I'm at. You always know my position. You always know how I'm feeling. You always know so that you don't have to do guesswork on the other side of the screen. I don't ever want that for anybody because it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah. And it's just communication. Communicate what you're going through in that instant to help them out.
Yeah.
So we are running on time. So I want to ask you the last question, which is the whole premise of our podcast. So, what is the unicorn lesson, AKA the biggest lesson that you've learned that has shaped you to be the person that you are today?
Yeah. For me, I actually wrote you back the answer. And I think for me, what has shaped me the most is that I don't know everything. I used to think that I was smartest person in the room. And I actually value being not the smartest person in the room anymore. I think is my sweet spot because I learn and take those lessons into something else. And for me, that is like the holy grail of what I've learned throughout my career. I do not want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to learn every single day, shape what I know to be true and morph it into something else consistently. So yeah, that would be my one thing.
I love that. And by having that mentality, you're willing to learn, grow, and always try to improve yourself at least one every single day with every single occurrence that you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was so fun. This went by so fast.
Oh, I know. Beautiful conversation. I loved every single second of it. If somebody wants to work with you, follow your journey, or just has question, how can they get into contact?
My biggest place is if anybody knows me, I live on LinkedIn. It's Desiree Goldie on LinkedIn. But you can also contact me through ZRG or you can contact me at dobetterconsulting.net. Those are my sweet spots. Contact me anytime. Glad to hear from you. Anybody that wants to contact me.
Perfect. And listeners, don't feel like you have to write all this down right away. Feel free to scroll down on the show notes. You can click the links and it will go directly there. Also, if you go to my website at rainbowcareercoaching.com, go to the Unicorn Wall of Fame, you'll see Desiree on there, along with my other beautiful unicorns that have been on the show. And you'll be able to find the links and a bio and a little summary of what we talked about here today. Any last words before we close out, Desiree?
No, I just want to thank everybody for listening. And I would say shoot your shot, do your thing, be present and be happy.
Love that. Beautiful way to end this. Until next time, everyone.